Welcome to another lore video, and it's all player lore at the moment. There are a few Galnet articles of interest. Firstly, the spinning station, Lantern Light, is being addressed in Galnet, with the Brewer Corporation on the case to fix it. This is a bug where a player built a station next to a neutron star, and then it began to spin at such a fast rate you get destroyed trying to dock or leave. It's also one of the funniest things to happen by accident. Here we are in the system, and you can see the Lantern Light station jumping about on the nav panel. And when you arrive at the station, it is still spinning madly. If you're prone to epilepsy or are otherwise affected by flashing and fast moving lights, look away now. Okay, you can look back now. So, as those of you who could watch that can see, it hasn't been fixed yet, but I like the way FDev have put their hands up to it through Galnet as something that nobody saw coming and had a good laugh about it with us. There's an article about a sneak preview of the upcoming Gutamaya Corsair for the Great and the Good, a private party showing off the ship before us plebs get it on the 8th, only a couple of days away now. It looks very nice. As far as capacity goes, it seems to have around the same or a little more than a Python, but with the ability to have a shield on top of that. And with the extra class 2 hardpoint over the Python, it looks set to become the new armed medium trader, or pirate vessel possibly. A bit more cargo space than a Python, less than a T8, but better armed than both and faster than both. A class 7 power plant and distributor in a ship that quick is very nice, with a lot of potential for different loadouts, and I'm looking forward to flying one. There's also a community goal that's had a few people scratching their heads. A fight between the forces of Jerome Archer and Denton Petraeus in the Chi Eridani system. The puzzling part for some players is, why is this a community goal? It's what happens in power play whenever an acquisition is contested, so is this just being thrown out for something to do, or is it perhaps a way to get more people into power play? Because included in the rewards are power play merits. 40,000 merits as a reward if you pledge to either Petraeus or Archer already, or pledge to them before the CG. Although this may seem a bit strange to have something that happens in power play, if not frequently, then often enough for it to be nothing special in that respect, this is the kind of thing I speculated that power play could bring to the table. More lore based around the power struggles and the players' part in those struggles, giving those not interested in power play a community goal to participate in without being pledged to a power, but with an extra reward if they are. It's exactly the kind of thing I've been hoping for, and that one day these may include evacuation scenarios. Nevertheless, a war community goal like this is rare. Some trivia, courtesy of Mamani and Doncaster. This is the first war community goal since the Grey Swan incident a year and a half ago, in October 3309, when a war started because a rogue signal made people fight each other, a bit like the signal that made the crew of the Generation ship Thetis kill each other. This is the first contested pair of war community goals. In other words, not just two war goals running at once, but against each other as well. Since Pitch, if that's how you pronounce it, almost exactly 2 years ago in April, when the Federation and the Empire clashed there, after the Empire mistook a bunch of Xeno supply ships for hostile Fed vessels. Because that's an easy mistake to make, isn't it? Oh look, there's an unshielded T9 bringing anti-Xeno supplies to the area. It must secretly be a heavily armed Federation warship in disguise out to get us. It's so easy to get those confused, isn't it? Muppets. Not much else in Galnet right now. They seem to be waiting to see how we get on with colonising systems and expanding the bubble. Colonisation has now doubled the number of populated systems in the bubble already. We estimated there were around 20,000 inhabited systems in the bubble before colonisation, and well over 20,000 new systems have been colonised, with no signs of slowing down yet. While all the features are good to see, even if they don't do much personally for me so far, one thing that players have commented on is a basic lack of competitiveness. In a game where I think the real power is in cooperative play, not competitive play, this doesn't bother me too much, But the competitive aspect is good to have for those who want it, and so it's an issue for some players, and they've expressed frustration with the lack of it, so let's look at why. Power play wants so much to be competitive, but it's really a peaceful build up your own systems game with 12 different choices of colour. Essentially, no one attacks anyone else with any particular force. A few systems out of 10,000 don't make a real dent on anything. So the competition is basically who can reinforce all their own systems first. BGS manipulation is balanced to be fairly ship independent in a lot of respects. The diminishing returns of doing too much of one thing, like hauling cargo for example, makes a 700-ton ship a lot less than 7 times as effective as a 100-ton ship, because sooner or later you'll hit the diminishing returns for cargo, and anyone deliberately taking part in BGS work is going to be beyond the point where the quick start ships are going to make any difference to their capabilities. But the introduction of colonization has changed the BGS forever. Burr's done a good explanation of the BGS basics and what they mean, so if this is all new to you, if you're not familiar with the mechanics of factions, influence and expansion, he gives a good rundown of the process to watch as a jumping on point. The BGS comes into operation in a colony that's been established, with the player's own faction in there if they have one, but colonization itself has meant that any faction can get 100 new systems in a fraction of the time and without the need to compete for territory. In the BGS it would take about 4 years minimum to get that big, which again rather takes away the competitive aspects of the BGS itself. Colonization has leapfrogged using the BGS as a way for a faction to expand its territory, not just because it's faster and easier than a planned expansion by using the BGS, but also because it's opened up thousands of new systems to start from that couldn't be reached before. We'll have to see what effect this has long term for factions and the BGS. In some ways it can be a good thing, with factions like AXI and Operation Ida working together to secure the Pleiades region as the main area in the bubble where you find Thargoids still. But on the flip side, factions taking over lots of new territory anywhere they like is a worry for some players who think it could easily get out of control. In retrospect, this can be seen as another reason why they stopped the creation of new factions a couple of years ago, in preparation for this. It's also led to speculation by Burr and others that the BGS as we know it is going to get relegated or rendered obsolete in some way, possibly amalgamated into or replaced by Power Play, or by the Vanguard update when it arrives. We still know nothing about what Vanguard will bring, and a few nuggets of information have raised more questions than answers. Only that it's supposed to be the spiritual successor to Squadrons, whatever that means, and that on the live streams Arthur has been talking about players joining Vanguards as opposed to Squadrons or factions. There are still problems with colonization, but that's to be expected at this stage. Things like ports not activating, and then when they do, not selling what they should be selling. But a market rework has been mentioned, so hopefully this will give us all a better idea about how it works. The new Trailblazer megaships have helped with the hauling a little by having everything for building in one place, at least when players aren't robbing them blind to fill their fleet carriers. But a lot of confusion remains about how all the different structures feed into each other, and there are still some problems with placement of facilities. However, it's not long until the Vanguard update now. It will be honest before we know it. So these bugs and the clarification on some aspects of colonization that people have asked for, they need to come sooner rather than later. It's been pointed out that as they've incorporated the bug with landing lights into the lore, they could also release some information through the Brewer Corporation in Galnet, or perhaps by the company publishing some kind of guide, that would tell us a little bit more about how things interact. One group who hasn't let the issues with colonization stop them is the crew of Distant Worlds 3. They're having a preliminary event to the actual expedition, which involves colonization. The goal is to establish an expedition launch site, far outside the bubble, in the general direction of Orion. This is going to be the foundational step for Distant Worlds 3, an opportunity for explorers to contribute to the creation of a colony site beyond the bubble borders, which will also serve as a departure point for the Distant Worlds 3 expedition next year. The colonisation event will continue until April the 20th. After that, the initiative will be extended for as long as they feel is necessary, with the ultimate cut-off time being in December. It's a good enough community event in itself, but I do wonder if the timing could be better. Not that I think it could be avoided either, but people are already hauling for their own systems or their factions, so I have doubts about the wisdom of splitting a player's attention potentially 3 ways. Of course, there are probably players with no interest in colonising for themselves, but will they want to do lots of hauling to create a starting point for the actual exploration event that follows, which isn't until next year? So far, take-up has been good, and they've built quite a bit already. 42 systems had been claimed the last time I looked, with at least 1 outpost completed, and people are working fast. 1 outpost was built in a minute by lots of people contributing all at once. But how long that momentum will continue after the initial enthusiasm for getting something built quickly wears off is another question. Hopefully enough will stick the course and at least flesh out the systems they have already, and I hope they get the support. But as I say, the timing at such a busy and early stage in colonisation makes me wonder if this was the best way to begin, and it's going to be a long haul, quite literally, to further grow the systems they have already. It's not the only thing the Distant Worlds crew are up to though. They have more events planned, like mentoring lessons for newbies to exploring, material gathering runs to stock up before going into the black, base camp meetings, and Distant Radio is back, with DJs ready to give you a wide range of music and stories to fly along with. There's a lot of streaming and chatting going on, and the main place where it's going on is in the FleetCom Discord, which I've linked to below. Check out the activities, meet the organisers, and if you've got a bit of exploring experience, perhaps consider becoming a mentor yourself. Another group involved is the New Pilots Initiative, and they try to encourage and mentor all new players, regardless of what they want to do, and sort them out with guidance and information. The link to their site is below as well, and on there are the links to all their other media, Discord, Facebook, whatever platform you want to use to get in touch with them. The next video will probably be a rundown of the Corsair, after I've had a day or 3 to play around with it. And I'm sure there'll be hundreds of videos about it when we get our hands on one. Burr got early access and has a few words about it already. Go watch his video on that, it's really nice, with some lovely graphics. But I'll give my own views on it, and hopefully discuss what others think about it, and try and get a range of opinions from the players to explore and discuss. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.